I figure I'd make a quick video for somebody who might want to know this information and just kind of cut through the nonsense. So I'm doing a transmission swap on a Infiniti G35X, just for starters. You know, let's see here. Got a 19 millimeter for drain. You're gonna go ahead and drain this box. You've got a passenger catalytic converter you're going to go ahead and need to pull. You've got, I think it's 2 bolts, or 1 bolt from the top and 2 from the bottom, or vice versa, depending on who's been at that car, because these are older. It's like, could be 13s, could be 14s. Don't make the mistake of using a 12-point deep well socket. You have to have a 6-point. You need to have an impact. You need to have a long half-inch drive to get at those. You need to make sure that you use penetrating oil in these older cars. PB blasts the shit out of all that stuff, everything. So once you get that catalytic converter out, then what you're probably going to want to do is go ahead and remove your front prop shaft. You've got 14 millimeters on the transmission cross member. So what you can do is, after you get that cap pipe out, you can hit the 4 8 millimeters up there in the front, and you can drop the 4 14 millimeters here in the back, and then you can slide that prop shaft out, which I got mine right there on the ground. Slide that prop shaft out, and then you want to go ahead and gun this back up in place. And the reason I say that is because the next order of business is, you've got some 14 millimeters. You got 4 14 millimeters up underneath here, and you got an inspection plate. You're going to need to get that inspection plate because you have 4 14 millimeter bolts holding the converter on. Over here, we have 2 14 millimeter bolts holding the starter on. All you need to do is just back that up. Don't forget to disconnect your negative terminal before you do any of this stuff. Also, don't forget to pull your sensor before you get crazy and you break that thing. So next order of business is that once you get all that, then you're going to go for your bell housing bolts. Know that your transmission dipstick, 210 millimeters, you need to go ahead and pull that thing out. You got 10 millimeters up there on the top holding it into some bracketry with vent tubing. I typically cut my vent tubing and put new stuff in there, but you got vent tubing that's unifying the front differential to the transmission to the transfer case. Like I said, you got 210s up there. Go ahead and disconnect this dipstick tube. Go ahead and let that thing set out of the way. I hang it up here up on this header. And you got your 2 banjos for your hard line. Go ahead and back those things out of the way. You got 17 millimeters across the top of the bell housing, 14 millimeters on the bottom of the bell housing, and 1 inverted 17 millimeter with a bracket that goes over the top of the differential hub. So now, once you have all that stuff and the converters loose and everything like that, if you're doing it I'm doing it on a lift, but if you're doing it in a driveway, make sure that you have this thing up off the ground on all 4 jack stands, and maybe try and run a little strap or something over the top of that thing, because this is a heavy fucking box. Then you're going to pull the 14 millimeters, let this thing fully hang, if you hadn't already. And then you're just going to want to slide that box slightly back, and then just go ahead and lower it, and it comes out pretty simply. So let's say that you're changing it and you don't have a transfer case, or you're reutilizing your own. I'll show you on a transmission that already has the case off, but nothing you really need to know about that other than it's 14 millimeter bolts. And I'll take you over here to when I took off. So you just got these 14 millimeter bolts that pass through on the back. Don't get into all those other fucking bolts. Study these. So those are the only bolts that you need to do to pull the transfer case. Transfer case just simply slides back. It's got 2 dowel pins on each side. Slide it back on. If you're exchanging your transfer case, make sure that you address those. Make sure that they're in there and that you address them, or what have you. Same thing for your transmission. Don't be the guy that tries to double dowel pin it while you're on the ground on your back with a 250-pound box. Other notable things that you might want to know about is half-inch drive drain plug for the transfer case. What's that damn thing? 10 millimeter for the fill, and make sure that you go ahead and address that. But yeah, if anybody want to know on your transfer case where your drain and fill is, it's right there. But that's pretty much all you need to know. I think it's like 17s in the back for the drive shaft. Shift linkage, make sure it's in neutral when you wheel this joker in. And I typically don't mess around with any of this fucking nonsense. Just go straight for the pins. You can do the pin in the front shaft, or you can do the pin in the back of the linkage shaft. Either one doesn't matter. And sometimes, you know, it helps the paint pen indicate things to remind yourself. I got a vent tube this guy. So, all right, hope this helps somebody out.